Welcome everyone to our ATAS live setup. Before we're gonna get started, a quick tech check. Please let me know in the chat if you can hear me, if you can see my screen, if you can see my camera, if everything is working fine. We're gonna get started within just 2 minutes. So quick tech check for everyone. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me, if you can see my screen, if you can see my camera, and let's get it going. Waiting for everyone's reply. Welcome to the chat. Welcome to the stream. Plus, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for confirmation. Lovely. Thank you for amazing, fantastic. Well to know. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Anastasia. I'm an ATAS expert, and today we are going live for the live ATAS setup. For those of you who launch the platform for the very first time, or perhaps one of your first times, this is a stream for you to be on, to make sure that you can save it, you can launch your platform correctly, you can save your settings, you can know your way around, learn functions of the ATAS platform, and adjust it in the best possible way for you to get started trading with ATAS. So today what we're going to do, we're going to go through the base ATAS setup in the first launch. So we're going to go through very basic common settings, how to set up your platform, time zones, how to know your way around connecting multiple accounts, connecting live quotes as well, opening your first chart, making a setting, so setting up your first chart both from the visual and technical perspective, and we will also learn our way around layouts, templates, and workspaces, and how to organize your workspace in ATAS for the most comfortable work and the most profitable possible trading. Now, I'm also going to show you some tips and tricks on how to launch the back testing, for example, replay functions, and answer your questions as well. So if this is your first time with us, fantastic, welcome, and we are happy to have you here. Now, if this is not your first time and you just have some questions, perhaps you face some difficulties, so you don't know the answers to certain questions about the platform itself, this is the place where you can ask all the questions and get them answered. So I'm going to do my best to help you as much as I can, and let's get started. Good afternoon, Rodrigo, welcome. Now, before we're going to get started, one more question for you in the chat. If this is your first time launching ATAS platform, can you please put me 1 in the chat? If this is your first time launching ATAS platform, can you please put 1 in the chat? If you already know your way around the platform and just looking for some more information or ask some questions, can you please put 2 in the chat? So 1 in the chat if this is your first time launching the platform and you just want to know everything about ATAS, you know, how to get started, and how to learn, how to switch to the platform of ATAS to trade. And now 2, if this is not the first time, you already know your way around and you have some questions or want to know some tips and tricks. Okay. Good morning, ATAS. Welcome. 2, okay. So many of you already know. So this is not your first time, right? If there is someone who is the first time, please do let me know in the chat. For those of you who are in the chat staying 2, please get your questions ready, because this is a session for the live setup of ATAS platform. So perhaps you have questions about specific indicators, perhaps specific functions. So I can answer your questions and adjust the live stream to the best possible way for you. Please make sure that you put your questions in the chat in the next 5 minutes, so I can adjust the flow of today's live stream. All right, so let's get started and let's make the most of it. Now, welcome, Max. Welcome, good to see you. Now, when you first launch your ATAS platform, for those of you who just joined our system and just want to go to know, now this is your main menu, which is going to open after you open out or install the platform and click login. All right, so you have the main setting, you have the Learn tab, Home tab, Settings tab, and license information, and then you have many options already in this very main menu, so the ATAS dashboard. Now, I have many questions every single stream about specific indicators, and I do live trading streams as well on ATAS platform, which is going to start in just less than 2 hours from now. So make sure that you check out the YouTube and ATAS Telegram channel for this as well, because I go live trading every single week as well at 5 p.m. Central European time, which is 4 p.m. GMT time. Now, I have questions every single week about specific indicators and the usage of specific tools of the platform. There is a very tab that a lot of people overlook, and that can be extremely useful for every single one of you learning your way around, which is the long tab. This tab was specifically created for articles and for tips and tricks and for video recordings and courses about the features of the very platform. So if you want to learn about specific indicator settings, how to adjust your layout in the best possible way, connect multiple things together, if you don't know some features that ATAS is using, what are they used for, and how you can benefit from them as well, go to the Learn tab. As you can see, the new window is going to open like this, right? So if you go to Learn, it's going to open the new window. And you have many more information here, as much as also the help center. You have access to the community as well. So this is something also a lot of people don't use. Please make sure you use it, because through accessing the ATAS community, you also can ask questions. You can connect with like-minded individuals like yourself and get interested in more things regarding trading as well. Get to know other people's opinions, strategies, and perhaps also benefit from it for your technical edge. As well as also you can go through tips and tricks, for example, videos right here regarding the use of several platforms. It's going to open the YouTube channel where I also do have my courses. So by the way, I have several intensives right here on how to use the order flow. For example, one of them is right here. It's market mechanics through the order flow prism training marathon by Anastasia. If you click play all, you will get access to this as well. It's going to be extremely useful for you. So please do not overlook the learning tab. All right. So this is first. Now, on top of this, you obviously have several main menus. All right. In the license information, you just get the information about your license. So once you purchase the license on ATAS, you will be able to see here which markets do you have access to, as well as also until which time, what day your license is active. So you can manage it from this point on. Now, in the settings menu, this is where you find the common settings about the platform, the time zone settings, hotkeys, and so on. So I'm going to quickly go over the main tabs as well, because this is something that we do every single week. All right. And I highly recommend you to pay attention to several points in this specific tab of the menu of the dashboards. It's in the common settings. Most of the things for majority of the traders are going to stay by default. All right. But if you want to adjust specific things, specific details about the platform technical aspects, right, this is where you can do this. Pozdrowienia, witam serdecznie. Witam serdecznie. So this is where you can do this. So on the value area percent is something that some people want to change. For me, I use volume profile and TPO a lot, also specifically volume profile, but my settings for the value area percentage stay at 70% always. So this is something basic that a lot of people want to use as well. Now, depth of market, also, if you want to use the depth of market indicator to see the limit orders, this is where you can change the amount of levels as well that you see above and below the current price. If you use the depth of market, this is where you adjust it, all right? You do it in the common settings specifically. Now, beside this, you can adjust the notifications and specific data delays, which is going to be useful for those of you who do fast-paced scalping, high-frequency trading, some algorithmic trading, which you can also program in the ATAS platform yourself if you want. So you can adjust this. But for mostly, it's going to stay very basic. So let's get back to the main menu. All right, besides the common settings, something that you want to pay attention to is the time zones. All right, because you want to ensure that the time zone of your chart is adjusted to where you are currently in the world, of course. Now, the settings for the time zone in ATAS start from the 0, and 0 refers to the GMT time zone, okay, Greenwich Standard Time. So you need to calculate and know how many hours ahead or behind are you compared to the GMT time zone. Now, I'm in Spain, I'm 1 hour from the GMT. This is why, as you can see, for all the exchanges, my time zone is set to 1, which means it's 1 hour ahead on GMT plus 1. Let's assume some of you are in US. If you are in US, if you are in Canada, if you are in Latin America, anywhere in that side of the world, please let us know in the chat. We're super happy to welcome you too. Now, if you're behind GMT time zone, you can adjust your settings of time zone, let's say to approximately -5 or -6, which is going to be GMT -5 or GMT -6, so 5 or 6 hours behind GMT, right? Later than GMT. Now, once you set up your time zone, I recommend to do it by exchange, which means that you don't need to set it up by specific symbol, but for all exchanges, you need to select the specific your time zone that you're using and click apply. So it's going to be applicable for all the charts that you open on ATAS platform ever. Texas, Otas, good to see you back. Good to see you on the live stream. Welcome. So good morning for you. So once you adjusted the time zones, another very important point and the button and the menu to pay attention to in this specific part of our dashboard is the hotkeys. Yes, something that a lot of people overlook. They don't pay attention to this. And that's a pity because using the hotkeys can save you up to 70% of the time of charting the platform, making your analysis, but also reacting to the markets, the opening, closing, and managing your trades. Now, in hotkeys, you can pretty much set it up based on your comfort. So whatever is comfortable to use essentially for yourself. Now, from my side today, I'm going to give you a suggestion to pay attention to trading and charting hotkeys. Okay, this is something that for most people is going to be important. In trading, you can set up the hotkeys to access quickly trade opening, position placing, as well as the trade closure. And something that I always mention is that you want to set up the close position hotkey. For me, it's set up as a Q. The reason for this is that it's on the left side upper corner of the menu, which means that you barely ever use this button. But if you press on it, it's going to close all your active trades or open positions, as well as cancel all the pending orders. And sometimes when the volatility kicks in, especially in the current geopolitical situations and the very volatile and risky markets, you want to be out of the position immediately to save yourself time and money. So this one small button can save you lots of money eventually in the long run when you want to get out of many positions at the same time and cancel opening orders, ensure that you're not gonna suddenly get in the trade or that you're not expecting to be in when the volatility is not what you expect, all right? So close positions is a must. The rest is completely up to you. And in charting, make sure that you set up the hotkeys for the tools that you use daily. So some drawing tools, some perhaps, Fibonacci's that if some of you use, or CVD, for example, cumulative delta correlations, or VWAPs or Elliott waves, depending on the strategy and the technical edge that you use, you can adjust your hotkeys accordingly as well. You can also, for example, just set it up as much as I have it on my chart, right? You can rewatch this session because it's been recorded and set it up just as I have, or feel free to use your own hotkeys depending on what you prefer, right? Now, it's going to save you lots of time when you're marking up your chart, so really take it seriously. I know it might be boring in the beginning to set it all up, but it's really, really going to be extremely useful. It really will save you up to 70% of the time of charting up your platform and you're making your analysis. And some of you, of course, will be using the Smart DOM for trading. Now, it's not something that I utilize and make use from in my personal trading approach, but some of you will. And then you, of course, want to use the hotkeys for the Smart DOM too, especially in case of scalping. It's going to help you drastically. All right, so make sure that you use it as well. All right, and we click close. So we get back to the main dashboard. I see some question in the chat. Okay, so I'm gonna get back to this question in regarding the trade copiers in just a second, because we're gonna go towards this in a moment. Okay, So in this menu, we also can change the sound settings. We can adjust the dim settings, so black or white, depending on your personal preference. And we also can work with layout and workspaces, which we're going to get back to very, very soon as well. Now, I'm just going to remind you before we're going to proceed forward that if you have any questions, please ensure to let me know in the chat, because I know that some of you have been using already ATAS platform for a while, and it's not the first time you're launching the platform. So to make sure that it's a useful session for you, please help me and let me know what you would like to know, what you would like to ask, and which difficulties perhaps you're facing regarding the platform, or the settings of indicators or the user-specific indicators. We can also cover this on our live stream to make sure that it's the most useful session for you as it can be, right? So let's get back to our main dashboard screen, right? So right here is our home button. In the home button, we can pretty much see many things connected directly to our trading. So let's go from the right to the left, okay? So from the right side is everything connected to specifically to your trade account. So statistics of your account, a list of the accounts that you have, orders and trades. This button activates or deactivates this specific menu on the left down corner. Okay, so if you unclick trades, for example, unclick accounts, it's just not going to show up. If I add trades, as you can see, it's going to add more. So I will be able to see the trades that have been taken as well, right here in the menu, as well as trading strategies if I want to program some of them, as well as statistics stuff and so on and so forth. So this is something that you can add to be able to access right here on the bottom side menu too. Okay, now afterwards, we have several important tools, and one of them is a replay. Replay is extremely complex and one of the best in the industry ways to backtest your strategy. If you've ever backtested your strategy, can you please put me 1 in the chat? If you are the serious trader who takes your trading seriously, and you've ever spent time on backtesting your system, which a lot of people try to skip and try to find their way around it, to just not do the work. But if you did spend time on backtesting, can you please put 1 in the chat? Okay, Farid, I also see a question. I'm going to get back to this when we go to the charts. Okay, I'm going to remember about the question regarding the volume profile, so don't worry, your question will be answered shortly. So the replay function is one of the most complex versions of the backtesting software. Fantastic, Oras, well done, super proud of you. That you can find in the industry, because it's not only replaying the whole chart, it simulates the whole environment up to the tick, which means that it shows you precisely how the asks and bids were distributed in the market at the moment when the price was formed. So to be able to turn on the replay function, and I have a specific lesson on this on the ATAS YouTube channel as well, but to turn on the replay function on ATAS platform, you need to click on the left upper corner on the red button and make sure that it turns green. That means that the software for their backtest and for the replay charts is available. Then right here, you need to choose the market data type. And the more in depth you go, and the more information you will be able to get, and the more detailed you will be able to see the simulated trading environment. So if you go to just candlestick general best prices, it's just going to simulate you the environment with the Japanese candlesticks. Now you can go a level deeper and you will be able to see the ticks in the general best prices, so best bid and ask. And you can go really deep into their backtesting data, and you can simulate the whole DOM, so level 2 data and tick by tick formulation of the price auction, which I've never seen before, and I believe no other software around the world makes it available as well. So this is something that is going to help you drastically to backtest your SaaS system and to shift, not to shift, but to refine your trading edge to the details. Okay, so this is incredibly useful. So this is something that we want to do. Now, keep in mind that, of course, the more data you load and the deeper you go into the data, in the backtesting data, the more time it will need to process and load the chart. So give it some time. Now, if you go the basic, it's going to be immediate. If you go a little bit deeper, it's going to take some time, right? Now, besides this, also you choose the instrument that you trade, obviously, right here, right? And you choose the period of time from which day to which day you want to load your charts. And then you choose it, you choose the instrument, and you click Open Chart, Smart DOM, or Smart Tape, depending on what you want to backtest on. And yes, it allows you to not only backtest on the charts, but also on the Smart DOM and Smart Tape. That's insane, right? This is incredible. And this is not a beta version. This is a version of ATAS that I use every single day. There are some updates, but replay is available in any version of ATAS platform, by the way. So it's incredibly good. Incredibly good replay. I've been using it myself for the backtesting, and it's just great. So once you choose the data instruments and the dates on which you want to backtest, the amount of time that you want to replay as well, you click here, and on the bottom you choose the speed with which you want the candles to be formed and the ticks to be replayed on your chart. So you can go as slow as you want or as fast as you want for the backtest, and whatever you prefer. Now, I have a lesson on ATAS YouTube on the replay and how to use a replay for backtesting, as well as there are several other recordings from the ATAS YouTube channel and in the Learning tab as well, where you can find more information on that. If you have any questions on this specifically now, please make sure you put them in the chat, because then I will be able to answer them as well shortly. Now, after this, let's get back to our main menu. So I'm going to turn this off and I'm going to go back to the main dashboard. All right, so this is replay. Now, the next thing is answering one of the questions we had already in the chat from Anime Galaxy here. Can you link trade copier to ATAS? Now, ATAS has the internal trade copier, all right, not an external, but the internal trade copier, which is called the following manager. Following manager allows you to connect as many accounts and create as many copy groups as you wish. So you can create the copy group right here, which means that you will have the master account and many copiers, as many as you want, or as many master account and many followers as you want. So which means that if you have multiple trading accounts, you do not need to manage them step by step, one by one. You can manage them as a group by the internal following manager, internal trade copier on the ATAS platform. That's extremely useful as well. So as a person who trades multiple accounts myself, I do prefer following manager, obviously, instead of managing it manually, hand by hand. It saves you lots of time and lots of money as well, because all we know that time is money in trading. Okay, if you have any other questions regarding their trade copier, please let me know in the chat. Regarding the external trade copiers, I believe that you need to connect it with your account and not with ATAS directly. So you go to your account and login details of your account, not with ATAS. But I really highly suggest you to try the following manager, because it works really, really good. Igor says a replay hangs from time to time. So the more data you load, the more difficult it's going to be to load the data, because we do need to realize that it simulates the whole trading environment up to the tick and every bid and ask. So if you don't need all the data, try to choose a little bit lighter version and smaller amount of date range to load at once. In this case, it's not going to hang. And of course, a very basic suggestion from myself, I know you probably did it, but I also pay attention to this a lot as I trade, is the internet connection, the speed of the internet. I always check my speed of the internet in the first place, also to make sure that I have fast enough internet for all the data that I need when I trade. Okay, so that's our following manager. Now, we do have the news, outwards, and economic calendar as well, to make sure that you have all the necessary information regarding the trading environment, macro environment when you trade. So that's also internally in the ATAS platform. That's something that you can explore by yourself. And then we have connections. Connection stop. This button calls out the same exact menu as the one on the left down corner here. Okay, so this calls exactly the same tab, right? So if I click connections here, you will be able to see some accounts that I have connected, right? And right here, you will be able to add as many accounts as you wish, your personal accounts, prop accounts, funded accounts, and also the access to the market live access. So how to connect your account? Calling out this menu and clicking the add button. When you click the add button, you need to choose the quotes provider or your broker that your account is registered on. And once you do, let's say you use a Rhythmic, for example, you need to give it a connection name. It's by your choice. So it's something personal just for you to remember which account it is. Then your login and the password, which is provided by either the quotes provider as a Rhythmic, for example, or your broker, which is going to be your email mostly and the password that has been generated for you. For example, you want to add something else, you go back, you choose, let's say, DX feed, all right? Like right here, DX feed, and you also give it the connection name, you choose your login and your password, usually sent to your email, and then you click finish. Now, once your account is connected, right here, you will be able to choose one of the accounts that is a quote provider. One suggestion from me, make sure that only one of the accounts and one quote is a quote provider, because otherwise they can overlap and disturb each other. So as you can see from all three of my accounts, I have only one quotes provider. And then I click auto connect to make sure that all my three accounts connect automatically when I do manage them. So when I log in into my trading platform, all three connect automatically. I don't need to go to the same menu every single time and connect them manually myself. So like this, it's comfortable for me to work. But if I want to connect to disconnect the account, I can do it here as well. So I click connect or disconnect specific account that I don't use, for example, right now. So for the purpose of our live stream, I connect only one account and the rest I just keep disconnected. So you can connect, disconnect, and add more accounts right here in this very menu, right? Then afterwards, you have all the things for your trading. If you use the system, the aspects like, for example, DOM, Smart DOM, Smart Day, bid and ask tape, so on. Smart DOM is a development of ATAS itself, which gives you much deeper insight in the bid and ask market auction creation. So you can call it out right here. You choose the instrument for which, for example, you want to get access to the Smart DOM. And right here, you have all of this, right? You can also trade directly from the Smart DOM if you wish so, as much as you manage the risks right here. So you choose how many contracts, for example, you want to place. And you will be able to customize this here as well. So you go to settings and you can add as many things or remove as many things as you want in your Smart DOM. So you can not only customize your charts, you also can customize your Smart DOM, Smart Day, and bid and ask tape. So if you call out the other, for example, the bid and ask tape instead of the Smart DOM, you also choose the instrument of your choice that you trade. And then you go ahead here, you have all the bid and ask tape in front of you, and you can also customize that and adjust some visual settings. So all of this is available for you for your personal trading, right? And it's everything that can help you doing trading, you get access in our platform too. Now, then we go toward the watch list, all right? So we go towards, let me check some questions in the chat, 1 second. Okay, I have some questions. I highlighted them, so we're gonna go through these questions when we launched our chart and go to indicators. Now, the next things that we're gonna look at is the watch list. Watch list is a list of your favorite instruments that you trade. And now, as you can see, I have several of them added right here, right? I have there several of them added. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna delete all of them and we're gonna create a new watch list depending on the instruments that you personally trade. So I have a question for you. Let me know in the chat, the instruments that you trade the most on the day trading. So whatever you look at, analyze, and trade from by the daily basis yourself. For me, it's metals, it's gold and silver, it's Euro USD, GBP USD, AUD USD, so G6B, 6E, 6A, and Nasdaq recently. Yeah, Daniel, trying to fit as much possible information, useful information as possible in this one live stream to make this session as much useful for you as we can in the short period of time. Yes, GC, very well done. Crypto, Farid, which crypto? Let us know in the chat and we can add it. We can add it to the watch list as well. But now let's go based on those two assets. So we have ES from Daniel and we have GC. So let's assume that it's your first time logging into the ATAS platform and you want to create your watch list. So how do you do this? You have absolutely nothing in the watch list. So you go to all instruments and you can either search the instrument by the folder, so by the specifications of the asset that you trade, let's say energetical products, forex, interest rates, metals, and so on. Or if you know the code, like we know, for example, right, GC and ES, perfect, GC, ES, the choice today is very obvious and very easy. And we have Bitcoin and Sol, perfect, GC, silver, and ES, great. So let's go over this. So as we know the codes of the instruments that we trade, we just put them in the all instruments, let's say ES, and I choose the top chart. So from ME, S&P 500, I choose the continuous, and I click on the star next to this instrument. By the way, if you want to trade the micro versions as well of the contract, so if you want to trade not the full contract, but the 1/10 of it, you can choose the micro ME, S&P 500, and the code for this is MES, so micro AS, and we also can star it and add it to the favorites, right? Then we go and we add GC. So we're going to do exactly the same. COMEX Gold folder, and we have the continuous chart which connects all the contracts all together. So this is the one that we want to choose because, as you can see, we have the whole list. But for analysis, I always choose continuous chart as well as for trading too. Then besides gold, we have silver. So SE, we can see the COMEX silver. And we also choose the continuous chart and we put the star next to it, which is going to move it into our watch list. And what we're going to do, we're going to also call out the Bitcoin. So we're going to choose the BTC, right? BTC. And here we can choose either the Bitcoin futures, for example, right, on the CME, because CME, Chicago Mercantile Exchange, recently added the Bitcoin and Ethereum futures, or we can go ahead and we can, for example, add the BTC USD on the Binance, let's say right here, BTC USD, BSDT USDT. So once we go to favorites, we have now created the watch list of the instruments that you guys put in the chat. So those are the majority of the things that you trade. And now we have them in the watch list, which means that from the watch list, we can open the charts of these instruments. Okay? So before we're going to continue, we're going to close this. So once I have the watch list, right? Now we have all the instruments. And by the way, you can also call out the watch list, not only from the watch list button, but from the plus button right here on the bottom of your screen, right? And you click on the watch list. So it's going to pop up right here too. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to open the chart. We're going to change our settings of the chart. I'm going to show you how to add some drawing tools and indicators, answer questions on volume profile and TPO that we had in the chat. And then we are going to connect it into the layout. And I'm going to answer you the question about the layout that we had. So we're going to organize the whole workspace that we use. So from the chart opening to the chart settings to the layouts and then towards our workspace. So this is our next plan for the next 15, 20 minutes. And like Daniel suggested, I'm going to get a sip of my coffee, take a breather and remind you that if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat at any given moment. So feel free to put them in the chat at any moment, because as you can see, I look at the chart, I check it from time to time, get back to your questions. So don't wait until the end of the stream, because like this, I can estimate how much time we have until the end of the stream as well, right? So let's get it going. So now we are going to open the chart from our watch list, right? So we have the watch list button. Thanks, Daniel. Appreciate that. I'm finishing my coffee, as you suggested. Let's go. We have 1 hour for this, so I'm trying to fit in the most information as I can and answer you the most questions I can during this live stream. So we have our watch list and we have our chart. So if I click on the charts, it's going to go open my watch list, but I will be able to call out the chart of the instrument that I trade, right? So we go ahead and let's open the instrument, for example, mini S&P 500. To be able to open the instrument of my choice, I can double click on it, or I can select it and click OK. And this is going to open the chart of this instrument, and the chart will be set by default. So this is a default view of how the chart looks when I first open it up without any settings. This is the default look of ATAS. Obviously, it's not going to be suitable for everyone, and neither it is for me personally. So of course, I adjust my settings. So how do we do this? I'm going to start from deleting the volume profile on the left side of my screen. I can roll my mouse over this and I can delete this right here. As much as we're going to go to the right upper corner of our chart right here, and I'm going to call out the settings. The settings can be called out by the settings button or by pressing on the background of my screen with my right click of my mouse and going to settings all the way on the bottom of the menu. So right here, we have the chart settings. And this is where you can adjust the visual aspects of your charts, as well as the visual aspects of your cluster chart, so the footprint charts, and then the trading settings as well. So let's get it started. Now, first of all, we can change the background depending on your preference. I personally trade on the white. Now, for the purpose of the live streams, to not make it too bright for your eyes, I adjust it to black. I personally trade, for example, on the completely white screen, which you will see very soon in our live trading in just a little bit more than 1 hour from now. So I adjust the background. I adjust the current price label so I can see it actually right. And let's say I'm gonna make it assumingly gray, for example, just like this, or a little bit lighter gray perhaps. And we are going to change the color to right here, white. We can also adjust how wide the line is, let's say 2 to be able to see it. And I can extend it or cut it. I prefer the cut version so it doesn't extend through my whole chart. Then I'm going to also absolutely not use a grid. So I'm going to unclick the vertical and horizontal grid, as well as making the sessions lines. So the line that separates the new session from the old one transparent, so it completely cleans my background. Then afterwards, I can also adjust the axis of my chart, which is going to make it a little bit, depending on my preferences, a little bit, for example, smaller, just like this. For me personally, it works better. For you, it may be the opposite. So it's something that you can adjust to yourself. And then we can change the look of our candles. So for example, I want blue and let's say an orange candles, as well as I also want to see the candle border around it. Right, and then we're going to go to bars. We can adjust the bar settings if we want to. So let's just change it to the same exact thing, right? Blue and orange. And then we can adjust the line chart color. So we can pretty much play around with all the settings that we want from this exact menu, right? And then there is one thing that a lot of people overlook. Now, this is the option to auto transform candles to clusters. So allow me to go back to the chart. Now, if this is enabled, if I'm zooming in, I'm going to see my candles auto transform into clusters to the footprint chart, which of course we're going to set it up in a moment. Right? If I don't want my candles to turn into the clusters automatically, I'm going to go back to settings and I'm going to unclick the options to auto transform candles to clusters. And in this case, no matter how much I zoom in, as you can see, my candles stay as Japanese candles, right? So that depends on your preference personally. Now, after we set up our visual charts, main charts, right? Let's go through the rest of the buttons on top of our screen. So we can minimize the screen, we can topmost it, so pin it on top of the rest of the menu, which means that, for example, if I have the small chart version and I click on it, even if I go back to my dashboard, my chart stays the same. So it doesn't move, which means that I'm always going to be able to keep an eye on this. So let's say I move it right here and then go to the main dashboard. And if I topmost it, as you can see, no matter if I go back to the menu, my chart does not disappear. This is what the small button does. It helps us to always keep an eye on our price. Now, also, we can go to the full screen mode. We can make a screenshot, or we can auto scale, or change the scale of our whole screen, depending if you have the customized screen, for example, because not all of them are obviously the same. Now, besides this, we have the bottom menu, which we're going to get back to in a second. And we have the top menu here, from which we can change the instrument that we have opened. So right now we are on mini S&P 500. We can change it from here. We can play around with our chart types. So the customized types of charts that ATAS offers, and also the time frames, which can be adjusted manually from here, right? So we can select or deselect or delete many of these options of the chart. So for example, I only use range XP chart and minute charts, and I don't use several of those others. So I can go to configure. I can add custom timeframes here if I want to, as much as I also can completely delete some types of charts. So for example, seconds, ticks, or volume charts, for example, and so on. I can completely delete them if I want to, or I can add more of them. So for example, if I want to use the range XP charts, which I actively use, I can select here the filter, the amount of days that are going to be loaded automatically, and click add. And apologies, that's opposite actually, 180 and 10. So as you can see, I can get more things. And if I click apply, if I go to the same menu, it's going to be cleaner. So I suggest you to keep only the types of charts and the timeframes that you use for the easy access of this. Also, beside this, from here, I can load the historical data of the chart. So for example, if I want to see the specific amount of days, it's here. If I want to see more days, for example, half a past year, I want to load 180 trading days. Or I can also go back and I can load the historical chart, which is going to be, for example, the last week of February, assumingly, right? If I want to see what was happening in the last week of February, and I click here. Okay, 1 second. I'm misclicking something. Here we go. So I click OK, and as you can see, it's going to load me the historical chart from the 22nd to the 26th of February. So this is a historical data. If I want to go back, I simply go to Auto, I click Apply, and right now we're going to get back to the live chart. Now, besides this, we also have a customized risk per trade here, so we can customize it from this menu for the easy and fast access. We can also choose the default types of charts, like, for example, bars instead of candles. We can also use transparent candles, which I personally really like, because sometimes if I trade the volume, I want to see the background of the volume profile, and some background of the indicators can be extremely useful for me too. So this is transparent candles option. I absolutely love it. We can also go to the line chart, the standard one. We can go to the area chart. We can hide our chart completely if you want to only use indicators in the volume profile, for example, and TPO. And we can also go to, obviously, clusters, right? From here, before we're going to customize our footprint charts, we can also find the access to some of the drawing tools. Majority of the drawing tools you will be able to find on the left side menu. Let's go to candles for a second. On the left side menu, you will be able to find the majority of the drawing tools, but also some of them are going to be hidden and available by the press on this pen icon. You can also zoom in the chart. So if you're on the candle, you can zoom in and see the footprint without going to the complete footprint charts, which is extremely useful when you trade. For me personally, I use it a lot. And you can also add some indicators, right? So before we're going to do this, let's go and let's switch to our cluster charts right here. Now, this is a default view of the cluster chart. And of course, you can obviously customize it. So you go to the settings once again, and instead of visual settings, this time we go to cluster settings. In the cluster settings, you can change the visual and also technical aspects of your footprint charts. So let's say I want the bid and ask. I want the full row being colored. I want the colors to stay exactly the same. And then I can go back and I can change the text colors, for example, to make it slightly brighter, auto size or not auto size my text, depending on what you prefer. I can also choose to highlight, for example, the point of control of the candle so I can see it clearly. And I can also, for example, enable imbalances and customize the view of imbalances as much as the proportion of imbalances, right? I use 300% instead of 150, for example, and so on. So we customized our cluster settings. Now you can also, as you can see, if you go to the clusters, you have the extra menu popping up. And from here, you can select what you actually look at. Let's say you want to see only the volume, which is a summary of asks and bids. You can do this. You want to see the amount of trades that were taken. You can do this. You want to see bid and ask in a delta colored version. You can also do this. You can just see the delta instead of bid and ask. So you want to see the delta, for example, or delta profile. You can also change this. Now, we had a question here that did we, one second. That was a question before regarding the bid and ask, I believe. Does ATAS have delta to volume? So I'm not sure 100% what you're asking about the indicators, or if you're asking about the footprint. Right here, you have delta version of footprint. You have volume version of footprint. You also have volume x delta, so both of them together, right? And so on. So you have different versions of the indicators. You can, for example, do the delta colored volume. You can do the delta colored volume histogram, and so on and so forth. So you have many different things. You can add an additional footprint if you want to see both delta and volume at the same time. And you can also customize some indicators to see the delta and the volume profile and delta profile together. So it depends on your preference. So this is how you customize your footprint chart. Now, if we go back to the candles chart, we can also go ahead and add some indicators, right? Some of you requested some of the questions regarding the indicators before we're going to proceed forward. So let's go on and let's answer those questions as well. So we had a question from Farid regarding the market volume profile. So you can add volume profile in ATAS in several different ways. You can add the volume profile here, for example, manual placement of the volume profile. You can also add the fixed volume profile right here. You can also, one second. You can also add indicators, various indicators for the volume profile, which we are going to do. So you go to indicators. I'm assuming that you asked the question about this. And you want to find the one which is called the market profile and TPO. And I'm going to delete the default ones here. So to add your indicators, you double click on it and you make sure that it's moved for the edit window. And then here you can pretty much see that my market profile, volume profile was added, right? So now I can customize this indicator. Now, what I can do is I go back here and I want to see, first of all, am I using the volume profile or the TPR, or the market profile over TPR, or the profile over TPR? What am I exactly using? It depends on your personal preference. I use the volume profile solely, so I'm gonna stay on this, right? You can customize it in many different ways, as you can see, right? Now, this is separate one. This is them combined. So let's go back to the profile. Now, afterwards, you set the period of time. So, for example, daily or weekly. Let's keep it on daily for the current moment. And we choose the profile type volume, or we choose it on, for example, delta, right? If you prefer. You can also choose the bid and ask. So the distribution between asks and bids. You can choose it on the delta colored. So that's a volume profile, but the colored by the bid and ask, as you can see. Then we can adjust some visual aspects. So let's go and let's change it, for example, to gray. I prefer this. And then answering the question regarding the lines, right? So what you can do, Farid, regarding the volume profile lines is that you can extend it or not extend it. You can change the colors, but you unfortunately cannot make it more narrow. It depends on the asset, because I am assuming that you trade Forex and it becomes quite big. Now, good news for it is that on the new version of ATAS X that I'm actively using myself, so ATAS X is the new version of the platform. This is a classical version. We have the ATAS X in a beta testing now. You can adjust the narrow, the more bold or the more narrow line. So I do it myself. As I trade on Mac, I'm an active user of the ATAS X right now on Mac. ATAS X is also available for Windows if you trade and you use Windows for trading. And there you can adjust the thickness of the line. In the classical version, unfortunately, you cannot. But if this is something that you are looking for, try download in the ATAS X, and there you will be able to customize it. All right. Now we have another question. Okay, there's another question. Ihor, I'm going to get back to this in just a moment. Okay. Perfect. So we added some of the things. For example, I also want to go and make sure that I don't see the cumulative volume, right? So the amount of contracts that we traded. And I'm also going to go ahead and unclick draw above the price, right? So now we have our indicator added to the chart. Now, what else we can do? We can go ahead and play with the layouts, and that was the next question. The templates, right? First of all, the templates and then layouts. Templates are going to save you lots of time on setting up your chart. Template is basically saves you the visual aspects and the indicator settings on your chart. So what you do, you go ahead to the settings, and we're gonna add the new template which we created today. So I'm gonna call it, for example, March. One second. March 5th template. I'm going to click OK, and it's going to be added on the bottom of my screen. So I click on the star, it's going to move it to favorites, and I click close. So now if I'm going to go back to my settings, and I click and open another chart, which for example is also S&P 500, the chart is going to load in the very basic settings that we had. But I can adjust the templates and choose the template that we just created to make sure that I don't need to set the settings for their chart twice. Now, allow me, please, just 30 seconds, and I'm going to reconnect my charger to another source of electricity because it's not charging my laptop. And I'm afraid that our stream is going to be disconnected. So give me just 30 seconds and I will be back with you. That was faster than 30 seconds. So as we can see here, we added the new chart of S&P 500 and we saved our template. So the template was automatically applied. And now the question about the layouts. The layouts allow you to connect multiple charts in one and combine multiple charts combinations in one for the comfortable work. So let's assume that on my chart, on my screen, I want to have two different time frames of the same instrument to be able to see a different perspective of my analysis. So let's assume I also want to see the market profile and TPO on the weekly instead of the daily, right? So this is my 30-minute time frame and this is 5-minute time frame. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add 30. We're also going to add some more days to load. So my chart is complete. So now I have S&P 500 on the 30 minutes and I have S&P 500 on the 5 minutes. Now, what I can do is if I drag on if I click on the side of my chart and I drag the chart, you will see this icon appearing on the center of your chart right here. Here you can choose where you connect the second chart, on top, on the left, on the bottom, or on the right. So let's assume I want to see two charts next to each other, so I move it to the right side. And as you can see, in just a moment, I'm going to have two of my instruments connected on one screen. So this is the layout that I will be using to trade my S&P 500 30-minute time frame on the left, 5-minute time frame on the right. And I can do it with as many charts as I want. I can connect 3, 4, 5, 10 charts. If I have a big screen, for example, I can connect them all together and use it as a layout for my trading. So I hope this answers your questions, okay? Regarding the dates of the release of the native version for Mac, right now, ATAS X is available in the beta version. You can download it for Mac. I'm using it myself for day trading every single day. Absolutely have zero issues with that, so I really highly suggest you to try it. The dates of the official release, I do not know, so please contact support regarding this matter, okay? So Igor, I hope this answers the questions about the layout. Okay, so what else do we have? Here, Igor is asking another question. Does ATAS load all the data again if you switch the instrument on the linked watch list? Yes, the ATAS loads all the data again. If you are facing the problem that switching the instruments is a little too slow, try to load less amount of days. So this is a suggestion that I might give you. So try to load the less day count. So instead of, for example, 300, 600, try 100 or 50. And then good news is that on the X version, so ATAS X for Windows and for MacBook, you will be able to have the fastest loading. So for me, this loads in a matter of seconds, where the classical version is a little bit heavier and slower. So ATAS X is much, much faster. So when you shift to ATAS X after the better version testing, you will be able to get this much faster. But for the current moment, if you're using the classical version, try the last day count, because especially when you have lots of instruments on your chart, lots of indicators, for example, it does take some time to load. I understand the problem. I had it as well myself. So try last day count. And of course, essentially try ATAS X. Yes, of course. So I use it very much a lot, to be honest with you. So let's assume that you don't have the indicator. You don't prefer to use the indicator. You have on the left side menu something that is called the market profile and TPO. This is a drawing tool. So to be able to access what you want, basically to draw your market profile or TO volume profile manually, you need to go to the left side menu, click on the market profile, and draw it, for example, from the bottom to the top of the chart, just like this, to see how the volume is distributed on this bull run to the upside today within the day. Now you click on it and you can customize the settings in exactly the same way, right? So right here I choose it, so I can choose the profile, OTPO, the same exact way, market profile, or volume profile. I can choose the settings here. I can customize how it's reflected, put it behind the chart, and essentially all the settings are exactly the same as an indicator. The difference is that it's not drawn automatically, but manually, only for this period of time and for this part of the chart that where you want to see the distribution of the volume. So I use it a lot myself. Exactly, I understand you. So this is the solution we are looking for. Ihar, to be quite honest with you, I've never had this problem, never faced this problem in 6 years of using ATAS. So if you have this problem, you need to contact support, technical support, because I'm not a technical support guy, and send them the logs. If you send them the logs, I'm pretty sure they will be able to help you. The workspace is saving all the indicators, time frames, all the open charts, all the drawings, so all your analysis. Your workspace is the workspace where you obviously work. Now, the layout is the chart connection. It's only connection of the charts. And template is only the visual settings of the chart, indicators, and visual settings of the indicators. So this is the difference between three of them. All right, if I go ahead, for example, here, and I load my workspace, right? I go here and I load my base workspace. I'm not gonna do it now because it's gonna take some time, but I'm gonna load my 30 charts all together with all the layouts, all the visual settings, all my analysis all together connected. This is the workspace that I trade on. The layout is just the chart connection again, and the template is the visual settings, indicators and indicator settings. Great question. So yes, when you analyze the volumes and when you analyze the bid and ask, so the footprints, I suggest you to use the standard contract. So in case you trade S&P 500, for example, and you trade on micros, analyze mini, so the standard S&P 500, and only execute trades on micros. The same as, for example, for gold, analyze GC and only execute on micro gold. The reason is that the majority of the volume obviously goes through the standard contract, and for the correct analysis of the volume, you need to use the standard one and then only execute and the manage trade on the micro contract. This is a great question. This is not the session for this German, but I do have it on the ATAS YouTube. Once again, how to access it? If you go to the ATAS menu, you go to the long tab here, you click on it, you go to videos, and in videos, you're going to have opened, one second, you're going to have it open here, the training marathons by Anastasia. You click play all, and I was pretty much doing the breakdown of their volume profile, as well as the volume, normal volume, and many other things. So it's something that I did on the learning marathons. Of course, very welcome, very welcome. Seems like we don't have any more questions, and we also are running short on the time. In less than 1 hour from now, we're gonna see each other back on the live trading stream. So we'll be back on the YouTube very shortly with all of you. So thank you so much for attending. Thanks for being here today. Thank you for all the questions and all the activity. I appreciate every single one of you. If this is your first time joining us as well, welcome. We are very excited to have you here. I wish you a profitable trading day ahead of you, and I will see you back in just 1 hour from now. Thank you so much, and see you back soon.